in the music business. In 1886, Yamaha had made tuning forks. They owned a foundry. One of the key things to making something is to own the foundry. That makes you the boss, because your competition has to buy raw material from you. And on the side of all these motorcycles is the emblem of Yamaha. Go look at it. It's 3 cross tuning forks, because that's what they used to make. But they were forced into the military at the time they went into war, and they had to make military motorcycles. Now that was from their side, not our side, of course. So these are just small little pieces of information that when you put them together, it helps you to draw a little bit better picture of what's going on in the world. Because truly, the more you know of facts, the more you can make your own decision of what's going on. And one of the worst things is to be misled by a group who just come out hollering and screaming, these guys are bad, let's go kill them all. Now, I'm going to move forward a little bit. I'm going to leave the subject of World War I alone, World War II alone. I want to move forward a little bit more. And I want us to think about something. That when we, and I say we meaning what? We're a group, okay? We're here in Somerville. And let's say that another group up the road at Lawrenceville, New Jersey, wants to have a basketball competition or a soccer ball. I think everybody here likes soccer, right? Football, yeah, okay. So you want to have competition, and we're going to play against them. So it's us against them, right? Now, if they win, we're going to be pretty upset, aren't we? Regardless of everything else, we're going to be upset. We're going to blame ourselves and blame our team, but we're going to blame them too. They cheated. The referee was in their favor. I could see in his eye he liked them. Maybe their cheerleaders were too pretty and he was distracted. I don't know, but I'm not happy. We lost. So us against them. On the other side, if we win, it's still us against them. We beat those suckers in the ground. So this starts out something that looks like fun, but it can get to another level, to another level, to another level. But as long as you're saying us and them, you've got a problem. For the Europeans, especially those from the British Kingdom, it's called BK, one of their problems was that they always liked to use the color of the skin, white. If you have white skin, or as we say, if you're white, you're right. But as a Muslim, the first thing we do is forget about color. I became colorblind when I came into Islam. There is no such thing anymore to me. When we say, did you see Abdullah? Which Abdullah are you talking about? The black one from Sudan. Okay. Because he's really, really black, so that's why we call him that. The black one. But we have no meaning other than that. By his color, that's it. But in the times when people are having these prejudices, the color connotation brings up something else to go with it. It means that, oh, he's the black. Because why? And I heard when I was in school, they told us that black people came from monkeys, just like other people. This is one of the things that they teach, you know. Came from monkeys, and they were still more related to the apes and monkeys, and that their skulls are much thicker than the skulls of the white people. And they even tried to bring examples of it. And guess what? They were lying. It wasn't true. But it gave a good excuse, didn't it, to enslave a lot of those people. And by the way, how many of you know that some of the very first slaves in this country were actually Muslims from Africa? Muslims from Africa. Some of them were indigenous religion as well. But they weren't Christians until after they got here and were forced into it. How many of you know that? It's true. Because not only that, but they have found graves of these slaves, and they found their Quran in the graves with them. The early ones that they brought over wanted to separate them from their families immediately because they know that that's the way to break the religion up. Separate them. And they used to cut the tongues out of the mothers so they couldn't teach the Quran to the children. Not all of them, but this did happen. It's known. Now, you look at me real close and notice that I'm not black, okay? So I'm not prejudiced, and I'm not saying this about old Whitey. Because that's one of the things that people will say, oh, well, you're just making that up because you're black and you've got a root thing going on in your head. I'm stating it as a fact. That's the way it was. some of the people today that we hold in high veneration and think of them as being so great and wonderful and freedom lovers owned slaves. How many of you know that George Washington owned over 40 slaves? Nobody says anything about it. It's not mentioned like a big deal when we talk about slavery, is it? That's not mentioned. But the early signers of the Declaration of Independence, many of them had slaves. So what? There's even one that they allege that his affair with one of his own slaves produced a child. And I don't need to get into that. I'm just saying that this is documented fact, that they claim that anyway. They wouldn't claim it if he didn't have a slave. I mean, it's obvious he had a slave. That was my point, not to bring any disparage on him for whatever he might or might not have done. But the point here is that when we look at people that suddenly they become all pure and beautiful because they're white or because they're American. And how about this? How many of you think Abraham Lincoln started the war against the South for slavery, to break up slavery and give independence and freedom to black people? Is that what they tell us in the school? Yes or no? It's what they teach us. But the real professors of history got fed up teaching what they know is wrong. And they talk about this. The professors of history who know real history have complained that what's being produced in these books doesn't match the true facts. One of them, there are actually several now, but one of them broke the ice, and he produced a book called The Lies My Teacher Told Me. You can get it in any Barnes & Noble or any bookstop. Read the book for yourself and see these facts that I'm telling you now. Because when you stop and think about it, when he mentions this subject about these politicians and what they did, and in one case is the statement from Abraham Lincoln that he said he was all for freeing these Negro slaves, and that's what they quote. They don't mention that there's a comma there, and it continued the rest of his diary. It says, and what? And sent them back to where they came from. Oops. Oops. Oh, well, we don't need that in there. Just throw that out. That's the problem. And it's not right for us to take half of a story and accept that as truth. When there's more to it, you should know all of it. And with that in mind, we're going to take a break. We'll be back. You're listening to Day Islam. We're broadcasting almost live all the way from Somerset County in Somerville, New Jersey at the Muslim Center.